The Okavango Delta, crown jewel of the Kalahari, the largest inland delta on Earth. An arena for nature's fiercest battles. Lion against hippo. The ultimate hunter challenges the giant of the flooded plains. "4 years as master of a territory the size of a major city. In the dry months, nothing here dares challenge Kasai. But this is the season of the flood. The channel where Kasai's pride once hunted now answers to a creature 15 times his weight. The flat ground where the pride ran down its prey has turned to mud, thigh deep. Kasai's kingdom is being redrawn by 30 million liters of water each day. Who really rules the Okavango? A cat 16 times smaller than the lion, yet holding the best hunting record of all Africa's cats. 200 Cape buffalo are gathering. For the first time this season, Azura walks into the flooded ground. The cheetah is the only cat whose claws never fully draw back in tents, the way a lion's or a leopard's do. It is how the cheetah hits 100 kilometers per hour on solid ground. This ground rewrites every calculation. Azura must land 8 to 12 successful hunts a day to cover the calories her whole family needs. In the mud of the flood season, every attempt costs double the energy. The story starts with water. Rain falls on the highlands of Angola from January. It gathers into the Okavango River and pushes south, never rushing, never stopping. As the flood crests in July, the delta swallows 30 million liters every single day. Not a single drop ever reaches the ocean. The cistern is sealed entirely shut. They call Okavango the jewel of the Kalahari for more than its beauty, because without it, Nothing that lives across the 930,000 square kilometers of desert around I would make it through the dry season. Okavango is the final anchor. In 2014, UNESCO officially entered this delta onto the World Natural Heritage List, recognized for Africa's highest density of biodiversity, measured by area. 130 large mammal species, more than 500 kinds of birds, 70 species of fish. When the flood comes, water wipes every boundary away, and power is dealt out again from zero. It is the perfect range to launch a hunt on solid ground. But separating Azura from the gazelle lie 180 meters of flood season mud. All the gazelle has to do is run fast enough to make it into deeper mud where Azura cannot go. Azura pulls up and watches her prey slip away. Pushing on through deep mud would cost more calories than the kill could pay back. Azura's 3 cubs arrived just 2 months before the flood, the worst timing the year can offer for bringing cheetah cubs into the world in Okavango. The hardest test of the flood season is not the water itself. It is water that keeps moving. Week after week, the map of Okavango is redrawn. The island that served as Azura's base only last week now lies entirely beneath the water. Learning to adapt to ground that keeps changing is the lesson Azura is passing to her 3 cubs this flood season. How to read the water. The darker it looks, the deeper it runs. And deeper means slower. The way the reeds lean gives away the current's direction. The trails of big animals, like zebra and Cape buffalo, point to the safe crossings. The lechway is the sharpest lesson the flood season has for Azura. A lechway's back legs run longer than its front ones, the reverse of nearly every other hoofed animal. Come the flood, the lechway turns into the one prey nothing can catch in the shallows. And those shallows make up 70% of Okavango's surface for 7 months of the year. A clean strike. In the flood conditions of Okavango, the serval's hunting success tops 50%, the best of any African cat in the flood season. 200 meters from here, Tima is perched atop a termite mound. She listens. The serval owns the largest ear-to-body ratio of all Africa's wild cats. 32 distinct muscle groups steer each ear, versus just 12 in a domestic cat. Each ear works entirely on its own. The left ear sweeps left, the right ear sweeps right, building a 3-dimensional triangulation of sound. Tema can pick out the heartbeat of her prey through the water's surface. The Okavango flood deals every advantage out again in ways no species can push back against. Leopard, serval, cheetah. Each species works out its own answer, but only one lands on the best answer. The flood season asks for more than speed. It asks for flexibility. Mosey has no need for ground to rule. What she needs is the channel. The matriarch, 2,800 kilometers, 22 years old, holding 8 kilometers of the delta's main channel by the simplest means there is. She never leaves. The 22 hippos of Mosey's pod. The trails they cut into the channel bed go by the name of hippo highways. Furrows 80 centimeters deep and 1.2 meters across, tracing the channel along the line that keeps the water flowing best. The channel's ecosystem holds together. Hippos also release a red-orange fluid from their skin. It is not sweat, it is not blood. It is hipposudoric acid, the only natural sunscreen, antibacterial and antiseptic compound known in any mammal. Through 12 hours submerged each day, their skin never turns infected, never picks up parasites, never falls to the bacteria that crowd the channel. Along the north edge of the region's largest termite island, a herd of elephants is at work, building. The African elephant is the one species with the mass and the power to smash through the high earth banks that stand between islands and channels. People pour decades and millions of dollars into digging irrigation channels. Okavango has elephants do it at no cost. And the outcome is better, because elephants trace the land's own water gradient, not an engineer's drawing. Prey just 80 meters off. But standing between Kasai and the Lechwe herd is a channel 1.5 meters deep. A 190 kilohertz lion in 1.5 meters of running water poses no threat. He is just a heavy body the current shoves to the side. The bull of Mosey's pod, there, unmoving, 3,004 canines, 50 centimeters long. His first defeat of this flood season. Within every cubic meter of Okavango's water, a conversation is underway, carried in electricity. Electric marmorid fish make up the African electric fish family. But fire, weak electric pulses to find their way, to tell each other apart, and to talk where there is no visibility at all. Every one of them puts out its own unique electric signal, like an electronic fingerprint. A school of 200 can know one another in pitch darkness through this system of signals. As the flood climbs and visibility underwater falls under 10 centimeters, every ordinary sense stops working. Catfish rely on whiskers. Crocodiles rely on pressure receptors along the jaw. Mormyrids rely on electricity. It is why the Okavango Delta holds 71 species of fish, more than any other inland waterway in Africa of the same size. Down in the delta's deepest channel, a species no one would name as a contender for power is readying the most striking act of the flood season. The African sharp-toothed catfish is no apex predator in the usual sense, but it holds one ability no other fish in Okavango has: breathing air directly. The African sharp-toothed catfish grew an extra breathing organ, a chamber in the head that works like a rough lung, pulling oxygen from air rather than from water. When the oxygen dissolved in the water falls too low, the catfish rises and takes a breath straight from the air. That ability carries them through low oxygen zones that every other fish is forced to flee. The Mzima pack numbers 11 African wild dogs, bound by a single rule: no one eats alone. The whole system is a way of conserving resources. The African wild dog hunts with an 80% success rate, the highest of any large predator on the continent. Not because they are stronger or quicker, but because they never give chase alone. Under flood season conditions, where mud drags on every species alike, Mzima's relay tactic loses nothing. The Mzima pack took 5 days charting the new channel territory before it began hunting in the flood season. 5 days watching which way the water ran, where the shallow crossings lay, and the routes impala took each day to drink. Mzima reads the flood season ground better than any newcomer species. From the 6th day on, their success rate rises steadily, fed by every day of gathered data. Kasai has to cross the channel to reach the ground on the other side. In the dry season, it is a 20-second swim through shallow water. In the flood, the channel runs 3 times wider and a meter deeper. The hippopod lies between where he starts and where he needs to be. Kasai has no choice here. The lion rules this place no longer. The Cape buffalo has crossed a threshold no African predator can face alone. A grown bull runs 700 to 900 kilograms. The boss horn needs 8 years to form completely. A full charge from an 800 kilohertz buffalo drives close to 2 tons of force into a spot no bigger than a thumb. Inside the herd, the grown bulls take turns on watch, on a rhythm of their own. The moment one senses a threat, it halts and stares straight at it. Inside 20 seconds, every animal close by has swung around to face the same spot. The whole exchange plays out through a web of reading head angles and body posture. In the flood season, the herd packs onto high ground that barely floods. 200 to 500 animals on a patch of land shrunk to less than 20% of its dry season area. That puts the whole herd inside 100 meters rather than scattered over 5 square kilometers the way it is in the dry season. The gap between spotting a threat and the whole herd reacting falls sharply. Lion's success against buffalo drops in the flood season, even with the prey packed tighter together. The tighter the prey packs, the faster and denser their shared defense becomes. This is the hunting plan the lion pride ran to good effect across many dry seasons. 2 wings close in from right angles. The prey bolts from one wing straight into the other, lying in wait. On dry ground in the dry season, with prey spread thin, this tactic hit 30% success against lone animals along the herd's edge. Kasai set in place for the ambush, the wind sitting right, the distance perfect by dry season habit. But the herd does not react the way lone prey does. The pride carries out every step of the plan. But the herd does not break into panic. When the lead bull lowers its boss horn and steps forward, that is the signal. "300 buffalo pushing the same way, building a combined weight of some 200 metric tons. The herd does not follow them into the water. The aim is not to kill the lions. The aim is to drive them past the herd's ring of safety. The moment Kasai passes that line, the herd halts and turns around. Kasai's loss to the buffalo herd does no immediate damage to the pride's condition. Lions can hold out 14 days without food, and still hunt at full capacity. But this loss carries a double ecological cost. First, the 300-head buffalo herd holds the highest ground, the very ground where impala and zebra gather. Being forced beyond the buffalo herd's 50-meter ring means losing reach to 80% of the prey in the area. Second, this is how buffalo redraw the lion's hunting map in the flood season without ever needing to fight it out again. The buffalo hold the ground. Impala and zebra learn to keep close to that ground. Kasai closes this flood season with more defeats than any stretch of his short life so far. 5 weeks left until the dry season. Long-term studies of lion behavior in Botswana found the same pattern hold. Lions that lived through at least one full flood season between the ages of 2 and 5 survived the next 5 years at a 40% higher rate than those that had not. Failure is not the loss of ability. Failure is exposure to a pressure the dry season never produces, and meeting that pressure is how the lion's brain assembles a library of responses for situations that inherited instinct cannot ready it for. And Kasai, driven back toward lower ground, learns what no dry season could ever teach: that the ruling species is not the one that never loses, but the one that lives through enough losses to understand why. And next year, when the flood climbs once more, Kasai will not close on a herd of 300 buffalo from that same distance, with that same plan. Because this delta shows no mercy to those who fail to learn, yet it never once refuses to teach. October. The flood starts to pull back. Not all at once, but a centimeter a day, too slight to see across 24 hours, yet plain beyond doubt after a week. Mud laid bare under the sun. Inside 48 hours of the surface drying, the first blades of grass push up. Out of the nutrient-rich sediment, the water left behind. Grass rises from this mud faster than on any grassland on Earth, because Okavango's sediment carries alluvial deposits down from Angola at 1,700 meters, loaded with tropical minerals that lowland plains can never make on their own. New grass is more than food. It is a signal. Zebra turn up in the second week after the grass shows. They can catch the scent of new grass from 20 kilometers downwind, then the wildebeest, then the impala. And once enough prey has gathered on the fresh floodplain grass, the delta calls the lions home. Solid ground hands Kasai back his 80 kilometers per hour. The flat plain hands back the power to run prey down in a straight line. Open ground, clear of thick cover, hands back a 300-meter H in sight. The close of one flood season never means everything resets to zero. The Cape buffalo herd holds fresh memory of the channel crossings and remembers that Kasai came at them from the north this year. Azura and her 3 cubs carry the flood season with them, and those cubs will hand it down to young of their own. Tema carries 2 serval cubs, the payoff of 7 months of catfish frenzy banked away. Mosi carries 1 more flood season seen through, one in which the pod came out whole. Azura, too, comes back to the dry floodplain. Her hunting success rises from 25% in the flood season mud back up to 45% on solid ground. Azura's 3 cubs came up through 7 months of flood by learning to hunt smaller prey in hard conditions. Field mice, lizards, small birds out in the shallows. Not yet the skills of a grown cheetah, but skills that dry ground could never teach. All 3 will grow into adult cheetah, who know what the flood season is and know that speed is not the answer to every question. Tema loses her catfish frenzy edge as the water pulls back, but across 7 months of flood, she banked enough energy to breed successfully. The 2 serval cubs at her side are the yield of 1 rich flood season. Servals bear 2 to 3 cubs when conditions are good, and 1 or none when they are poor. The flood season is the best conditions Tema can get. 2 cubs living to October is a rare mark of success in the wild. When Angola's rain falls on the Baye Plateau next January, the cycle starts over. Water runs down the Okavango River for 1,200 kilometers. Through Angola, through Namibia, into Botswana. 4 months to reach the Kalahari. And when it comes, the Delta greets it with everything the last season taught. The serval will command the termite islands again when the flood rises, because the termite mounds are still the highest ground there is. The hippo will hold the deep channels again, because the hippo highways are still the water's road. The wild dog will again take 5 days charting the ground at the season's start, because those 5 days are the reason the 78% success rate exists at all. Tabo will mark the eastern termite island again, because warthog do not give up territory. They only adapt to whatever the flood changes. And Kasai will wait once more, patient, because lions know their season. This is Okavango, not where the strongest always wins, but where those who know their moment always endure. Greatest wildlife fights in the jewel of the Kalahari. Every flood season in Okavango writes the balance anew, and the species that grasp this need not win every fight. They need only last until their own season arrives. If you want to see what happens when Okavango dries out completely, when the channels vanish and every species fights over the last of the water, the next story is waiting. Hit subscribe so you don't miss it. 30 million liters of water every day. 7 months of every year 2.5 million years without a break. 8 weeks past the flood's lowest point, the Okavango ecosystem closes a recovery cycle that ecologists call post-flood succession. Green grass to the knee across the whole low floodplain. Zebra come back at the year's highest density, as many as tens of thousands within a 200 square kilometer stretch. And once zebra gather at that density, Kasai no longer has to wait. Kasai lands the first clean kill after 19 days of too little food, on the very first straight-line chase across dry ground. The water pools left behind as the flood pulls back turn into the heart of the whole dry season ecosystem. Every animal has to come and drink once a day. And lions learn early on that water holes are for waiting, not for chasing. Kasai knows every water hole across her territory. And every afternoon that November, Kasai does not chase. Kasai waits, with the patience of an animal that has just come through 3 lessons in 7 months. Mosey and the hippo pod keep the dry season channel through work of their own making. The hippo highways carry enough flow to see 22 animals through the longest dry season. After 8 years of holding this channel, Mosey has built a channel system the whole surrounding zone cannot do without. Without Mosey's hippo pod, the main channel would break apart into shallow branches, too thin to hold crocodiles through the dry season. Without crocodiles, the fish would boom and strip out every aquatic plant. Without aquatic plants, the wading birds lose what they feed on. Mosey has no idea she is the foundation of the ecosystem around her. She only, after dark, guard the young and keep the path the pod has walked since before Mosey was born. Simple as that. And that simplicity is enough to build a whole ecosystem. UNESCO named Okavango a World Natural Heritage Site for a self-sustaining system that asks for no intervention. Mosey and the hippo pod hold to the main channel as the flood pulls back. Hippos never leave the channel. They wait for it to close in around them. And the hippo highways, stretched across hundreds of kilometers of channel, cut by the pod over decades of the same steps repeated, keep the water deep enough right where they need it. And every flood season, the hippo channels serve more than the hippos, but every species that depends on deep water through the dry months. When the floods draw back, everything falls again into the harsh truth of the dry season. The African Savannah is not the only place where evolution has hammered out a merciless food chain. Nearly 9,000 miles off, across the Atlantic, another great furnace is burning. Here, ultimate power does not work under blinding light. It lurks in shadows that creep across the ground and whispers in total silence. The ground climbs to 80 degrees Celsius. The air lifts like steam off a scalding pan, bending the horizon into shimmering, quivering mirages. This is the Sonoran Desert, the fiercest furnace in North America. Spreading over more than 100,000 square miles of rock, sand, and cactus, reaching from Arizona through California and slicing across Mexico. The answer starts at the bottom of the food chain. Here lives a creature that must spend every single day as though it were its last. The desert cottontail. Barely 3 pounds, about 1.3 kilograms, and just 15 inches long, it is a meal on the move for nearly every predator in the Sonoran. Its greatest weapon for survival is a pair of oversized ears that make up as much as 14% of its body mass. Those ears are a flawless biological cooling system. A thick web of capillaries within the ear widens under the heat, shedding body warmth out into the air. Without this mechanism, the desert cottontail's blood would, in the most literal sense, boil from within. At dawn and at dusk, when the heat eases a little, the cottontail at last leaves its shelter. It travels by a trick called shade hopping, bounding from one patch of shadow to the next, as if the ground in between were molten lava. Every leap holds a life or death calculation, the gap between two patches of shade, the angle of the sun, and the wind's direction as it carries a predator's scent. Every predator wants the desert cottontail, but not every one dares go near the creature that comes next. The desert horned lizard is tiny and slow, and at first glance looks like a rock that sprouted legs. Its body is wrapped in a layer of razor-sharp spines, making it a meal that is, quite literally, impossible to swallow. Any predator reckless enough to try will feel dozens of spines punch through the roof of its mouth. Its camouflage lets it vanish completely into desert rock and sand. But that is only the first line of defense. When cornered, the horned lizard unleashes a weapon no other reptile on Earth has. It fires a jet of blood from the corners of its eyes, as far as 1.5 meters. Its blood holds a fiercely bitter compound that makes coyotes, foxes, and even snakes spit it out and back away at once. The most fearsome biological weapon in the desert comes not from claws or venomous fangs, but from a pair of eyes. In the Sonoran food chain, the horned lizard has proven a single truth: that defense is the currency of survival. No speed needed. No great size needed. Kasai stands atop the region's highest termite island as dusk falls. The delta opens out ahead, half water and half land, the line between them unclear even from the highest point. Scientists call this sentinel behavior. But Kasai is not on the lookout for enemies. She is reading the ground. Ecology has a term for it: temporal niche partitioning. It is not whoever holds the most space that wins, but whoever picks the right moment. The serval took the 7 flood months as its peak, when the catfish frenzy hands over enough protein to breed. The hippo took the deep channel as a permanent realm across both seasons, because where the hippos live, the channel never runs dry. The Cape buffalo took collective force as its weapon, one no single animal can break. The wild dog took the relay tactic, unbothered by ground that keeps shifting. The lion took speed and power, which rule the 5 dry season months, without question. Okavango is not where the strongest wins. Okavango is where the best fitted wins. The one with the right season, the right ground, the right way of living. And every year, what best fitted even means shifts to the rhythm of 30 million liters of water a day. Kasai has ruled this territory for 4 years, 4 years without a defeat worth the name on dry ground. This flood season's 3 losses do not wipe out those 4 years. They add to the map Kasai carries within her, the map of a lion who knows when the dry ground is hers and when the flood season calls for patience over action. There is one creature that has taken it even further. It uses neither blood nor spines to guard itself, but turns the fear of others into a weapon. The burrowing owl, the only owl in the Sonoran that lives below ground. Unlike its relatives, it hunts by day, taking insects, small mice, lizards, and whatever else fits in its beak. Its strangely long legs let it sprint across open ground, making it a ground hunter wearing the mask of a sky predator. The burrowing owl does not dig its own burrow. It moves into someone else's. Any old tunnel left behind by prairie dogs, desert tortoises, or badgers is fair game. When an enemy nears the burrow's mouth, the burrowing owl makes a sound that freezes every creature in the desert, the warning rattle of a rattlesnake. Not a real rattlesnake, only the owl mimicking to perfection the sound of the desert's most dreaded killer. Down in the dark of the burrow, no intruder dares chance it. With no venom and no spines, the burrowing owl has made fear itself its ultimate weapon. Sometimes seeming dangerous works better than actually being dangerous. But this false rattle only works as long as a real rattlesnake is not close by. In the Sonoran, rattlesnakes are always close by. The coyote is the finest opportunist the Sonoran has ever raised. Smaller than its northern cousins, weighing only 25 to 30 pounds, some 11 to 13 kilograms, with thinner fur built to shed heat more easily. Small in body, never in ambition. Coyotes eat whatever crosses their path. Cactus fruit when desperate, cottontails when lucky, lizards when handy, and carrion when nothing else is left. Opportunism raised to an art form. When it hunts smaller prey, the coyote works alone. It waits, tucked behind creosote bushes, both ears turning like radar, sweeping for sound, its nose reading the wind. When a cottontail shows itself 30 feet off, the coyote becomes a loosed arrow, surging to 40 miles per hour, some 64 kilometers per hour. But on steep, rocky slopes, the coyote gives way to the desert bighorn sheep, animals that can climb sheer rock faces at 15 miles per hour. Only when they face large prey on flat, open ground do they turn to pack hunting tactics.
Sunrise over the Masai Mara is a moment of pure magic. In the crisp morning air, the topi shake off the remnants of sleep. Some engage in clashing horns to get their muscles moving. They vie for the highest mounds on the plain, securing a panoramic view and prime status to attract mates. Those who come up short are moved to the lower ground. This lively dynamic marks a productive start for these creatures. But breakfast is always on the horizon. In the pride's first meal of the day, the hierarchy of power is clearer than ever. Although the lionesses handle most of the intense pursuit, the alpha male claims the privilege of eating first to maintain his peak condition. Sometimes the dominant male uses this right as a social discipline tool. If a female declines a mating request, the male may strictly prevent her from touching the prize she secured herself. This firm approach ensures he is always calling the shots during his tenure. A male lion's throne is a fleeting position. On average, a king only keeps his crown for 2 to 3 years before being unseated by younger, stronger rivals. When young males in the pride reach about 3 years of age, they are sent away by their father to prevent inbreeding and remove any seeds of rebellion. For now, they must simply follow their father's lead and offer comfort to their weary mother. If the wildebeest herd is the roaring engine of the Great Migration, the zebra is the navigational brain and the most valiant vanguard. Roughly 300,000 zebras participating in this trek are not merely tagging along. They hold the keys to survival that the wildebeests completely lack. This partnership begins with a silent agreement within their digestive systems. While wildebeests are ruminants requiring tender grass, zebras are hindgut fermenters. This design allows zebras to process the oldest, driest, and toughest stalks that other species often pass by. They act like industrial mowers, clearing the coarse surface layer to reveal the fresh green core beneath for the wildebeest herds. A perfect division of resources helps both coexist on parched land. However, the zebra's true contribution lies in its superior visual navigation. Unlike their companions who keep their noses to the ground searching for rain, zebras possess a topographic map in their visual memory. They recall the exact locations of reliable waterholes from years past, even when the sky shows no sign of a storm. With eyes positioned on the sides of their heads and exceptional night vision, they establish a 360-degree lookout system for the entire migrating group. Any slight movement in the thickets is detected instantly. When those black and white stripes begin to pick up speed, it serves as a silent command to the thousands of wildebeests behind that unwanted company is approaching. The zebra's resolve is most evident at the Mara River crossings, teeming with Nile crocodiles. Wildebeests might stand frozen for hours in hesitation, but zebras are often the ones to break the stalemate. With a cautious yet decisive nature, they are frequently the first to brave the water and clear the way. Those stripes charging through the turbulent currents act as a powerful psychological cue, triggering a domino effect that encourages the masses behind to follow suit. This boldness isn't reckless. It's the calculated move of a species that is always ahead of the pack. Once these striped warriors are settled on the fresh green banks, they leave the stage to the opportunistic hunters waiting for the remains. But before the shadows of the meat-eaters emerge, a smaller antelope species quietly makes use of the final green patches left behind by the massive migrating herd. The Thompson's gazelle is stepping in, bringing a more delicate rhythm of survival amidst the grandeur of the great trek. At midday in the Masai Mara, the sunlight is an unrelenting force, seeking moisture from every living being. African elephants understand this better than anyone. They turn mud into a protective coat, a natural sunscreen for their massive frames. Once dry, this layer becomes a shield against pests and keeps their temperature from rising too high. While the adults enjoy temporary relief, the newest members of the herd struggle with their own bodies. Their small trunks make them quite clumsy. From birth to 3 months of age, the trunk is merely a decorative accessory. It takes up to 6 months for a calf to begin learning the ropes of coordinating the complex movements needed to grasp grass or leaves. Only at 1 year old do they truly master the skill of drawing up water. Fully mastering techniques like breaking tough branches or picking up fruit with the trunk's tip is reserved for those 2 years of age or older. Yet, within that clumsiness, the calves are always sheltered. Elephant milk is a premium nutrient source, rich in fats and proteins, allowing the young to grow rapidly at an average of 1 kilogram per day. Here, the concept of family is fully realized. The aunts, sisters, and grandmothers in the herd all participate in raising the little ones. However, the intensity of a drought sometimes tests the limits of endurance. The elephant herd is always on the move. Their journey spreads nutrients, levels the ground, and even clears paths through the brush. The matriarch leads the way as she is the most respected figure. But not every young one can keep pace with the elder female. A pressing thirst leaves the elephant herd feeling weary. This presents a prime opening for the lions. They set their sights on a young calf. The thing remaining is the profound sorrow of a mother with a heavy heart. Before the weight of her recent loss has even begun to lift, the mother elephant must already face the scavengers. A single mother faces her most demanding survival puzzle. Instead of hoisting the prize into a tree as usual, she chooses to play it safe by concealing it in an abandoned warthog burrow to stay out of sight from scavengers. A high-stakes decision. Any passing predator could stumble upon this feast. Yet, dragging the catch a long distance in 40 degrees heat is simply too much of a gamble. Another grueling trek begins. She must retrieve the precious gift she carefully stowed away. It is a path long enough to ensure the scent does not linger. A young boy. In the world of the leopard, young males tend to stay with their mothers longer than their sisters, sometimes up to 24 months. This is because establishing a solo territory for a young male is a monumental task under the pressure of other mature males. Nuzzling and grooming at this stage are the emotional bonds that strengthen the tie between mother and cub. Now she will guide the youngster to where his favorite meal awaits. From 6 to 8 weeks of age, the cub has already begun sampling meat, and soon he will learn to accompany his mother on actual outings. Leaving him unattended in a den for up to 36 hours is a gamble. Young leopards also hone their nimble climbing skills. On the savannah, raising a future warrior requires dedication and limitless patience. As the sun begins to fade and the air grows cooler, the night hunters prepare for their day's work. The hyena clan has been vocal since daybreak. Now the sun is high in the sky. Yet the foraging party has not returned. This male hyena has just finished his search. He carries back a late morning meal. The aroma of this feast is quite alluring, drawing a female to the spot. This fellow is doing it all for love, even if he may not receive a single morsel from the meal he just secured. In hyena society, the ladies hold the reins. The females are larger and much more assertive. Males must endure a long, humble journey to carry on their legacy. They must constantly lower their gaze, tuck their tails, and step back whenever a female draws near. A clever male will choose to be a dedicated shadow. He will trail his interest for weeks or even months, maintaining a respectful distance and appearing as harmless as can be. He even learns to show affection to the dominant female's own young to get in her good graces, truly paying his dues to win over the queen. The demanding cycle of life for newborn hyenas begins with their very first breath. Unlike most other mammals, spotted hyena cubs enter the world with a full set of teeth and eyes wide open. Their quest for status ignites within the first days of life. To secure prime access to their mother, these little ones are ready to contend with their own siblings. This trial determines who will lead in the future social order. For the entire first year, mother's milk is their sole sustenance. They cannot process solid food until they reach 8 months of age. This reliance requires the mother to dedicate all her energy to protection and care before beginning a new reproductive cycle. As the final light retreats, the Masai Mara transforms into an intense sanctuary for shadows. For the wildebeest herd, existence narrows to the keen vigilance of hearing and scent. They stand close together, every nostril flaring to detect a stray molecule of scent in the night wind. Yet nature often favors the most capable. Strong night gusts not only distract the senses of the prey, but also completely veil the footsteps of those gathering in the darkness. In the thick darkness, the lioness possesses an overwhelming biological advantage. Their eyes are a masterpiece of evolution, with light-sensitive rod cells 6 times more effective than human vision. A reflective layer behind the retina allows them to capture every stray particle of starlight to reconstruct a clear image of their interest. However, superb eyesight is only one part of the story. A lioness carries a relatively small heart, making up about 0.5% of her body weight, which prevents her from sustaining long-distance pursuits. Her assets are explosive energy and extreme patience. The lionesses do not work alone. They function as an organized special unit. Through subtle glances and quiet vocal cues, they have their strategy down to a science, pinning their interest in a pincer movement. Those on the wings begin to direct the wildebeest herd, steering them straight toward the members waiting in the center. When the gap narrows to 20 meters, the silence is completely lifted. The lead female surges forward with an explosive speed of nearly 60 kilometers per hour. Amidst the chaos of 1,000 hooves, she zeroes in on a single individual thanks to her sharp motion detection. A sudden strike combined with a firm hold on the throat interrupts the air supply of the subject. A successful nighttime outing brings a survival rate of up to 30% for the pride, an impressive figure compared to their more modest results during the day. In this nocturnal kingdom, superior teamwork and vision turn these shadows of the brush into the ultimate masters of the life cycle. As the pride settles into their nightly feast, the surrounding shadows erupt with eerie laughter. The spotted hyenas have arrived, the most persistent figures next in line at the site. A resonant roar from the king is all it takes to keep them at bay for a while, securing the meal for the delicate cubs. Yet the patience of these scavengers knows no bounds. They are truly biding their time. They linger in the shadows, catching the inviting scent of a nutrient-rich meal. At the forefront of the cleanup crew is the spotted hyena, a creature with an incredible bite force of 9,000 newtons. This strength surpasses even that of a lion, allowing them to break down the sturdiest bones to reach the nutrient-rich marrow within. They aren't just looking for scraps. They consume the skin, horns, and every tough remnant left behind, going the whole 9 yards. Their digestive system functions like a natural chemical plant, with potent stomach acid, capable of fully processing even the most durable tissues. As the lion pride finally moves on, a new commotion begins with the arrival of the black-backed jackal. These nimble scavengers choose not to challenge the muscular strength of the spotted hyena directly. Instead, they utilize a cunning hit-and-run tactic. Possessing a sharp sense of smell that can pick up a scent from several kilometers away, they are often among the first to arrive. Their compact and agile bodies allow them to weave through openings, quickly claiming soft remnants before vanishing into the darkness in the blink of an eye. They are opportunistic phantoms, surviving by being quick on their feet and knowing how to strike while the iron is hot when the giants leave an opening. The true conclusion of the feast belongs to the vultures as the first light of dawn appears. Though they often watch from the skies, they must wait for the mammalian hunters to move on before they can step in. These biological cleansers use their sharp, hooked beaks to clear the final remnants from eye sockets and the deepest reaches of the ribs. Evolution has granted them a featherless head for cleanliness when reaching deep inside, ensuring no unwanted hitchhikers cling to their plumage. With a stomach pH near 0, they neutralize potent pathogens like anthrax or botulinum toxin at the source. Vultures are the final stop for illness, ensuring the harsh conclusion of one's journey doesn't become a widespread crisis for the plains. In the Masai Mara, existence is a tightly woven cycle, where the remains of one provide nourishment for thousands of others. The dawn light reveals the bleached frame of the wildebeest, with not a single morsel left behind. The vultures take flight, cleaning the slate for the quiet start of a new day. The Great Migration is often seen as the eternal heartbeat of East Africa, a cycle of life that never truly comes to a halt. However, the years 2024 to 2026 have brought unusual shifts that have shaken up the old ways. Due to climate shifts and erratic rainfall, the traditional path between the Serengeti and Masai Mara is being redrawn in highly unpredictable ways. Instead of completing the full loop into Tanzania, many small groups have chosen to turn back midway or remain in surrounding private conservancies as long as the grass stays green. This flexibility is how they adapt to meet the challenges of the changing climate. Within this massive flow, order is found through an unusual alliance between very different neighbors. Though they boast overwhelming numbers of 1.5 million individuals, wildebeests are notoriously poor at finding their way. Fortunately, they have the zebra, the living compasses of the plains. With exceptional spatial memory, zebras recall every river bend and path from years past to guide the massive group in the right direction. In return for that guidance, the wildebeests bring a masterful sense of smell to the table. They can detect the scent of rain and moisture from up to 50 kilometers away, leading the group toward freshly watered pastures. This partnership is also visible on every stretch of grass they cross. Zebras, with their sturdy teeth, handle the older and tougher grass tops first. This naturally clears the area, revealing the tender young grass beneath for the wildebeests. They need each other to thrive, forming a perfect biological team that overcomes every hurdle, working hand in glove to keep moving forward. Known as the simpletons of the savannah, wildebeests are actually the planet's greatest ecological architects. With an overwhelming presence of 1.5 million individuals, they exert immense biological influence on every land they cross. The secret behind leading 1 million creatures to find the rain lies in their extraordinary sense of smell. A wildebeest can detect moisture in the air and the scent of damp earth from 50 kilometers away. This primitive navigation system is more precise than any man-made device, turning them into true storm chasers on the plains. Amidst the swirling dust, the constant calls serve as an invisible thread of connection. This is why they are also called the gnu. This continuous vocalization ensures no individual strays within the massive sea of life, keeping them all on the same page where visibility is often hampered by sand and heat. Their survival rests on a specialized physical design. Slender yet durable legs allow them to cover vast distances with minimal energy use. A newborn needs only 7 minutes after arrival to find its stride and match the pace of the adults. In this setting, a delay means the journey reaches a premature end. When facing the Mara River and its resident Nile crocodiles, collective intelligence replaces individual commands. There is no single leader who actually gives the order to cross. The decision to enter the challenging waters is the result of mounting pressure once their numbers at the bank reach a tipping point. Those at the water's edge are moved forward by the weight of the thousands behind them, creating a powerful and irreversible domino effect. Their role extends far beyond being mere travelers. Wildebeests consume about 4,000 tons of grass each day, acting as strategic mowers for the African landscape. This grazing stimulates the grass to return faster, softer, and richer in protein for other grazers, helping everyone get a leg up in the competition for resources. They are also mobile fertilization plants, spreading tons of nutrients to restore the soil's vitality and prevent land degradation. By clearing away dry brush, they naturally manage fires and protect the ecosystem from intense wildfires. Their contribution is the lifeblood of the African plains. They serve as a vital resource for prides of lions, leopards, and hyenas. Without this abundant energy source, these night hunters would find it difficult to sustain their legacy. Even the vulture flocks rely entirely on those who do not complete the journey to fulfill their role in keeping the environment tidy. However, to lead this massive energy through the savannah's maze, these simpletons require a guide with a superior memory. The black and white striped companions are waiting up ahead, ready to serve as the living compass for the great journey. This shivering newcomer has just been brought into the light. The moment it arrives, its journey is officially on the clock. The mother doesn't offer nourishment just yet. The little one must prove it is a fighter. Merely 15 minutes after birth, the young antelope must find its stride. Only after showing its agility does the calf receive the reward of nutritious milk. This urgency is no coincidence. The reproductive window for the topi is incredibly narrow. A female has only a single day each year to secure the next generation. Contrasting the grazer's instant agility, these hunters start off still wet behind the ears in total fragility. The dense thickets serve as a sanctuary for the newest members of the royal line. Lion cubs are born completely sightless and delicate, weighing only about 1 kilogram. They must remain tucked away in dens for their first 2 months to stay out of sight from other wandering eyes, and from their curious older cousins as well. This is the most sensitive stage. New life is shielded only by the protective instincts of the mother. Quite a distance away lies the territory of the lion pride, a large family unit. Prides in the Masai Mara can reach up to 20 individuals. Strength resides in the unity of the female alliance. They form a supportive matriarchy, where lionesses co-parent the young and hunt together. It takes a substantial target to satisfy the hunger of a large pride. The buffalo is a challenging prize, yet always enticing. Even when the strongest males have secured the catch, the young ones still hesitate, as if finding their feet in this world. Typically, the dominant males do not spend much time hunting. His role is that of a guardian of the boundaries. He patrols the borders constantly, marking territory and leaving scent paths to warn any intruders. It is all to safeguard the pride's reign and the well-being of the little ones. Beneath the murky waters of the Mara River, an ancient squad of prehistoric hunters silently sets the stage. This is the domain of the Nile crocodile, giants that can reach lengths of over 5 meters and weigh nearly 1 metric ton. Many seasoned veterans here have lived for as long as 60 years. They have observed the Great Migration since a time before humans possessed modern lenses to record the event. These elderly hunters know every bend and every ideal crossing point by heart, where the wildebeest herds will eventually have to pass. The true secret behind this dominance lies in a chilling level of patience. Nile crocodiles are masters of energy conservation. They can go without food for up to 1 year and still thrive due to an incredibly low metabolic rate. They spend most of their time basking on sand banks, absorbing heat and waiting for the only all-you-can-eat season of the year. When millions of animals descend into the river, one giant can consume an amount of meat equal to 20% of its body weight in a single sitting. The fat stored from these grand feasts is the lifeline that sustains them until the next migration season arrives. Since they cannot chew, these reptiles employ a famous processing technique known as the spiral surge. Once they have secured a firm grip on their prize, they rotate their entire bodies at an immense speed beneath the surface. The centrifugal force and torque are so powerful that they can separate joints and tissues in the blink of an eye. Entering the year 2026, the water levels of the Mara River have become more unpredictable than ever due to shifting currents from upstream. When the water is deep and fast-moving, this becomes the land of plenty for the crocodiles. Wildebeests, swept away by the current, become a meal served on a silver platter, requiring the crocodiles to hardly break a sweat to claim them. Though they do not truly hunt in groups, dismantling a large prize like a zebra requires pulling forces from multiple directions. Here, opportunistic cooperation arises. They are willing to share the bounty to take advantage of the rotational force provided by their neighbors. After the meal, their stomachs, which possess the highest acid concentration in the animal kingdom, process whatever remains. From bones and horns to the hardest hoof fragments, everything is completely dissolved. After every migration season, the riverbed is left spotless thanks to the thorough cleanup efforts of this reptilian army. However, on the shallows and along the banks, another curious figure waits quietly to tidy up the final scraps that even the crocodiles overlook. That would be the marabou stork, the street sweeper of the savannah. As the sun reaches its peak, the Masai Mara transforms into a massive furnace. To beat the heat and shield themselves from harsh rays and persistent hitchhikers, these giants seek out the mud wallows. The damp earth serves as a protective coat for their delicate skin against the intense warmth. Unlike the elephant herds that use mud as a temporary mask, the hippopotamus chooses to rule the currents to beat the heat. An alpha male claims a stretch of water spanning about 200 meters, establishing his own absolute rule. These giants spend up to 16 hours each day soaking in the water or cooling mud. The hippopotamus lacks sweat glands entirely. Under the intense African sun, their thick skin is actually quite delicate and prone to sun damage if exposed too long to ultraviolet rays. Staying submerged also helps manage their massive weight. The current supports their joints, allowing this nearly 3 tons giant to move with surprising grace. Much like lions, a mother hippo does not feel at ease giving birth around assertive males. She must seek out a separate pool to welcome her only calf. Their connection to the water begins from the very first moments of life. Hippopotamus calves are born right beneath the surface and are natural-born swimmers. Even before finding their footing on land, they dive skillfully alongside their mother, using the water as a safe shield against shoreline hunters. Even so, one can never be too cautious. The mother cannot bring her little one back to the herd's waters just yet. She worries that territorial disputes among the males could place her precious calf at risk. The solitary mother becomes fiercely protective toward anyone who draws near her and her calf's pool, even if it is a lion. But a hunter is approaching. She is in need of a drink, but the hippo will not allow her to come any closer. Having raised young before, the mother knows exactly what this lioness is capable of. They are master hunters, and her calf would be quite a prize for them. A firm snap toward the head. With a jaw that opens 150 degrees and teeth far larger than those of a lioness, she easily convinces the predator to take a hike and forget her thirst. As the top-tier hunters retreat into the shade, the mother cheetah begins her shift. This is a clever survival strategy, seeking a meal while the heavy hitters are deep in slumber. Unlike the single mother working hard to raise a litter of 4 to 6, the males often choose a different path as they mature. They form a tight-knit coalition, often brothers from the same litter, to collectively safeguard a vast territory of 13 to 130 square kilometers. In the world of cheetahs, unity helps them hold on to lands rich with resources. A coalition functions as a truly egalitarian society. Those living alone often find themselves in poorer condition and rarely keep their ground against the competition of these close-knit male groups. Today, 4 cheetah brothers are setting their stage. The target is a zebra. Once the target is identified, the biological machine kicks into gear. As the prize is brought down, the outcome of the chase is clear. But the cheetahs must still eat quickly. The midday sun might keep hyenas from working for their own food, but it won't stop them from trying to muscle in on the action for an easy meal. With fewer leftovers from lions available, the hyenas of the Masai Mara are becoming more assertive than ever. Thompson's gazelles steer clear of the crowds of zebras or wildebeests. They are the final ones to arrive, a choice that is quite a clever feeding strategy. While zebras handle the coarse stalks and wildebeests take the mid-level greens, they leave behind the short grass near the soil. Often called the microgreens of the savannah. This protein-rich specialty is exactly what the Thompson's gazelle prefers. They make the most of the nutrient-dense resources that the larger species unintentionally overlooked. To thrive as smaller residents, these antelopes have evolved into high-speed marathon runners. While wildebeests rely on strength in numbers, the Thompson's gazelle wagers its well-being on agility and sharp turns at 90 kilometers per hour. When facing a swift seeker like the cheetah, they perform a psychological display called stotting, springing high into the air with all four legs. This isn't out of concern, but a witty message to the seeker. Look, I'm in the pink, so don't bother with the effort. Their caution reaches its peak when facing the challenges of the Mara River. Unlike the impulsive rush of the larger herds, the Thompson's gazelles are the most selective and patient. With such a delicate frame, a strong current or an accidental bump from a wildebeest could lead to a permanent departure. They typically wait for the commotion to settle once the Nile crocodiles are satisfied or occupied by larger subjects. They seek out shallow, calm stretches of the water to ensure they remain safe and sound. Interestingly, aerial views show many of these groups are willing to bypass the crossing if the grazing in the Serengeti remains plentiful. They are expert risk managers, placing their security ahead of following the masses. As these small foragers finish their feast, the silhouette of another guardian appears atop the termite mounds. The topi is patiently biding its time for a turn. While the wildebeest herds pour their strength into a taxing journey of 10,000 miles, the topi display a practical and sharp philosophy for getting by. They are semi-migratory residents, often staying put in the Masai Mara territory year-round, rather than making the draining cycles across the border. As of the year 2026, field records show many local topi groups only travel locally between the plains and the high hills to seek out the fresh shoots appearing after the rains. They hold the moisture map of the reserve, using their deep knowledge of the terrain to stay in peak condition without expending too much energy on the move. When the wave of wildebeests flows in, the topi quickly implement a clever strategy for some added security. They blend into the massive crowd to lean on the safety of numbers, making it harder for seekers like lions or hyenas to narrow their focus. Furthermore, this is a feast laid out in advance. The zebra and wildebeest herds have served as dedicated groundskeepers, clearing away the tough old stalks to reveal the succulent young grass beneath. Standing tall on strategic mounds, the dominant males serve as long-range lookouts for the entire plain. However, this tranquility is but a brief pause in the symphony of life. As the pressure from the crowd pushes the migratory flow toward the lower reaches, the true testing grounds begin to emerge within the Mara River. There, prehistoric seekers with steel-like scales are patiently waiting in the wings, ready to turn this grand journey into a fierce and intense encounter beneath the murky waters. As the sunset paints the elephant grass golden in the Masai Mara, the air thickens with the urgency of the day's final cycle. This is the prime window for mid-tier hunters, where every move is racing against time in the fading light. Survival here relies on more than just raw power. It is a sophisticated logistical puzzle solved by the sharpest minds on the savannah. Black-backed jackals build their status on a rare foundation in the savannah: absolute lifelong loyalty. A black-backed jackal pair stays together for life, repurposing empty warthog burrows or old termite mounds into a secure family stronghold. The youngsters are looked after by their older siblings while the parents go out to forage. Young gazelles are not as fortunate. From an early age, their existence is a high-stakes gamble where the mother wagers everything. The tiny one lies curled up, pressed against the ground and staying perfectly still for hours. Their coat blends seamlessly with the dried grass and sandy soil. The mother bets that no one will stumble upon her young. But today, the odds were not in her favor. Jackals possess incredibly sharp senses. For today, a bit of luck also helped them hit the jackpot. The jackals quickly attend to the meal they easily discovered. They have little ones of their own to consider. The female black-backed jackal consumes the portions as fast as possible, turning her own stomach into a secure transport pouch. At the den entrance, the eager faces of the waiting pups show their anticipation. When the mother returns, the meal begins. Finally, they can satisfy their hunger after a demanding day. As darkness falls, all the pups must retreat into the den to stay hidden from those with keen night vision. The mother leopard's brief window of peace draws to a close. She must guide her little one to a safer haven. Deep into the territory of the dominant male she paired with. Every step is a wager on the strength and well-being of the youngster. The innocent cub remains unaware. Twilight brings a welcome coolness, yet it also masks those who move in silence. The young one has reached the branches where his mother has stored a meal for the coming day. As a devoted mother, the leopardess maintains more than a single cache of food, but an unfamiliar scent lingers. Even though male leopards are typically larger, the mother is watching like a hawk and will stand her ground against anyone who dares approach her cub. The commotion draws the dominant male to the scene. He has shown himself to be a reliable partner. The intruder is turned away, yet remains fortunate to escape with his health intact. As shadows reclaim the plains, the most skilled hunters emerge from their hideouts. In the tall grass of the Masai Mara, a mobile radar station operates with total precision. The serval possesses the largest ears in the feline world relative to its frame. These satellite dishes are so keen they can pick up the footsteps of a mouse moving deep underground or in the thickest brush. For the serval, sound is scenery, and the darkness is her greatest ally. However, tonight's mission comes with more pressure than usual. In a hidden rocky crevice not far away, her nursing youngling waits with anticipation. This single mother is forced to gamble, leaving her fragile cub behind to nourish herself. Without a proper meal, her ability to provide milk will fade. Despite her slender frame, the serval is truly at the top of her game when it comes to efficiency on the savannah. Her success rate reaches 50%. a figure that completely overshadows the 30% of a lion pride or the 38% of a leopard. This proficiency comes from a blend of extraordinary hearing and unbelievable leaps. Long legs provide the serval with incredible lift, allowing her to soar 3 meters into the air or leap 4 meters to secure a meal from above. The most vital step is identifying the target. All that remains is the final, decisive move. A female serval's life is a journey of independence and constant awareness. She must carry the weight of raising her young alone, without any assistance from the male. To keep her cub away from the prying eyes of hyenas or the intensity of leopards, she frequently moves her home, leaving no scent behind. The 1-month-old youngsters have started trying meat provided by their mother, yet they still rely on her warmth until they are 5 months old. Every survival lesson, from active listening to the perfect pounce, is taught through real-world practice with live prizes brought back to the den. When the vivid feast of the heavyweight hunters concludes, the dark butler of the savannah truly begins his work. The marabou stork, also known as the undertaker bird, appears like an old man in a classic tuxedo strolling through the remains of life. Do not let this hunched posture and somewhat elegant attire pull the wool over your eyes. This is one of the largest birds in the world, with a wingspan that can reach 2.9 meters, rivaling the mightiest representatives of the African skies. Standing tall at a height of 1.5 meters, they tower over the scene, completely dominating the vultures bustling about. That featherless head and neck are a masterpiece of practical evolution. Much like a surgeon, the lack of feathers allows them to comfortably reach deep into the remains without worrying about fluids or bacteria sticking around, making the cleanup after each shift much easier. The vibrant pink air sac beneath the neck is not for storing food, but rather a sophisticated temperature regulation device and a tool for producing strange calls to attract a mate. Their most impressive feature is a long, hard and sharp beak shaped like a chisel, which can pierce the toughest wildebeest hide with ease. In the survival cycle of the Great Migration, the marabou stork serves as the final logistical anchor. They consume everything from aged meat and fallen fish to the scraps that even hyena packs overlook. These are mobile biological incinerators, a team of unsung heroes who help clear health risks like anthrax or plague from the grasslands, ensuring the safety of the entire ecosystem before a new cycle begins. At Masai Mara in 2026, ornithologists have noted the incredible intelligence of these birds as they begin to shift their traditional habits. They do not just wait patiently by the riverbank, they also gather at waste sites near human camps or follow wildfires to catch insects fleeing the flames. With the personality of a neighborhood bully, they frequently shoo away vultures or stand beside the crocodiles to snatch bits of meat flung from the spiral surge. Though often regarded as the least attractive bird on the continent, without them, the savannah would be overcome by strong odors and serious illnesses.
We have just witnessed the most unfiltered cross-sections of the labyrinthine waters of the Okavango and the great furnace of the Sonoran. Which animal in today's fill forced you to see the wild world differently? Leave your experience in the comments below. Your understanding is the greatest tribute to these wild creatures. Don't forget to like and subscribe to join me on the next expedition, where we continue to decode the most mysterious survival codes in the wild.